I guess first off, thank you so much for taking time to come to KGW here in Portland to have this conversation. I know you're busy, you've been doing a lot of speaking. I guess first off, Dan, since you are the executive director of Shakara, Speaking Toward Building Times and Peace of War, that is the name of what you're doing. If you could kind of introduce yourself, your role, and then if we could kind of go down the line and if you could introduce yourselves and your role in the delegation.
Sure. So my name is Dan Pfefferman. I'm from Israel, and I'm the executive director of Shakara. We are a nonprofit, non-governmental, and we like to joke that we're apolitical unless being anti-peace is a political position. So we are a unique nonprofit formed jointly by Israelis, and when I say Israelis, I mean Jews, Muslims, Christians, and Druze alike, and citizens of the different Abraham Accords countries, the UAE and Bahrain and Morocco. After the signing of the Accords in 2020, the historic peace accords that opened for the first time in decades a glimmer of hope, stability, and prosperity for the Middle East. And these, unlike previous peace agreements and political discussions, they gave the promise of warm peace that allowed people-to-people engagement. And that's where we came in as an NGO. We said we need to popularize these among the people. So the governments were very fortunate. Our governments went ahead and signed these accords, a visionary step on their parts. Of course, business people do what business people do and make money. And a lot of people are improving their lives because of this. But there's so much misunderstanding and ignorance and misinformation and fear of the other because of many decades of different conflicts around the region. And so we set out to be able to bring citizens together from the different countries. We try to work with influencers, journalists like yourself, professors and teachers, civil society activists, and we try to bring them on educational trips and build collaborations between Israelis and between peoples of these countries. Now, at this time of, unfortunately, war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, it has strangely polarized much of the public opinion here in the United States. And we see, we in the Middle East, where there is actually a lot of people getting along, maybe ironically, we see people fighting here in the United States. We see what seems to be a lot of people, we hope mistakenly, marching in the streets and chanting for a terror organization that committed an awful, atrocious act that sparked this war. And we're here to try to educate as much as possible from different perspectives. We're here to try to introduce or reintroduce a dialogue. It's okay to have different opinions on difficult topics, but there doesn't seem to be any dialogue. And so something that we do in the Middle East, we're trying to also bring to the United States, which we feel collectively, I think we all agree that it's the most important country in the world. And seeing the society so divided, we're trying to bring a nuanced, educated, and we hope a hopeful dialogue and conversation into American society about what's happening in the Middle East.
Okay, and really quickly, Shakara, what does that mean?
Shakara is an Arabic word that means partnership. And it's, as I said, unique because it brings together people from Israel and from around the Middle East in a new paradigm for cooperation, dialogue, and hopefully friendship.
Okay, and if we could kind of go down the line.
Yeah. My name is Niveen. I am Israeli Christian, Aramaic citizen belonging to the Maronite Church of Antioch. I grew up without to know a lot about our country. So the first 30 years I just was more support Palestine than to live our citizens and feel part of Israel. My son changed my life. It was an amazing story that happened when he was 10 years old. When he heard the siren in the Memorial Day. In the Memorial Day in Israel, the people stand when they hear the siren for moments. And he just want to know why hear the siren and what is the Memorial Day. In the same time, I didn't know about this a lot, so the only answer that I have, it's Memorial Day. Together we make a research, we know more, and we remember this day. And he become also more interesting to know about our citizen in Israel. The next year he said that I will stand when I hear the siren. He fight with the teacher, he leave the school, and he went to study in Jewish school. Together we know more that we should know more about our country. I am become a more coexistence active behind the Arabs. In Israel we have 20% Arab. Between the Arabs we have 2% Christians. In this minority also we have another minority called Aramaic. We are from the religions of this land. We still use the Aramaic language, Jesus language, until today. Israel in 2014 recognized our identity as Aramaic. Before we was as Arabs, because we speak the Arabic language. And we are very excited about this change that happened. Now, I am the director of strategic partnership at the Israeli Christian Aramaic NGO. I lead the youth movement. It was a mistake just when I was 30s to understand who I am. So I helped this youth to understand before in like the 16s, so they have time to check and to have like all the information. I lead also pre-military program for Jewish and Christian together called pre-military leadership, Mechinat Kineret. Together Jewish and Christians together 7 months know about each other, the Christian about the Jewish, the Jewish know more about the Christians, keep Shabbat, pray on Sunday. Know more about the Israeli Defense Forces before they join the army. But I feel that I missed to serve in the IDF when I was 18. And I just know that it's never late and I can serve. So when I was 39 years old, I joined the IDF. Me and my son together in the same year. Elias also now in the IDF. And we're proud that we, during this war, we can also help our country during the war. And today I am also advocacy fellow at Philos Project. I am also proud to be with Shakara, and I also will be proud to share our mind with all the world where we need, also in China if we need to go, and pray for peace.
Can you give me a minute?
Sure. I see you holding it in a little bit.
I didn't want to get her off. I'll just drink water because I feel something. Sorry.
Sure. Brian, did you want to wait until you get some water and then resume, or did you? Yeah, probably that, right?
I can share another thing. I can finish with a...
Oh, hold on, just... did you say we can pause and then pick it back up? Cool, okay. Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, I can finish with a small song with 2 languages, Hebrew and Arabic, for peace.
Oh, yeah. That would be... Maybe, should we do that at the very end? Maybe we remember. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
That's it.
Are you all good? We can wait for a second, too.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, you're good.
Do you need water?
It's fine.
Oh, wait, did you get water?
No, I don't have one.
Do we have water? Yeah, hold on. I think they're grabbing some water. I think they're grabbing some water.
Yeah.
I know it always hits at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know how that is. Oh, he has one.
Thank
Always
you.
Natan to the rescue.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think they're going to try to get everybody water too. Paul's on the, yeah.
Okay, I'm better.
Okay, Okay, Naveen, it sounds like you have a history of, working to educate people and bring people together to find out more about different cultures and different religions, because you're talking about Christianity and all that. Okay, so now we're all good, Brian? Actually, before that, hold on, Paul's coming in with water, so maybe we distribute water real quick so that everybody...
I've got 3 right now.
He has 3 right now. Who wants?
I'm good.
I'm fine.
Thank you.
Over here.
Brian, did you need Yusuf to tuck in the wire? Can you see the wire from his microphone, or no? Do you not see it? Okay, perfect. That's fine. Because the suit's dark. Okay.
Should I put it back or just put it here?
You can put it. Can you put it behind you, or is there a?
Yeah, there is a gap. It might fall down.
Or you could just put it. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for that.
No, you're good. You're good. And then Yusuf, you could just, once she gets settled, you could just pick it up
Wait.
as if it never stopped.
Of course.
Okay.
So my name is Youssef El-Azari. I'm from Marrakesh, Morocco. My country is well known for its religious, versatile culture. We are the only Arab country that has the biggest Jewish community in the Arab world. Not only that, but we have Judaism, besides a rabbinic judicial law in our own constitution. So I've grew up with those values. Of course, thanks to our leadership, we are a kingdom. So our king really maintained a beautiful peace between all the communities, all the diasporas we have in Morocco. So whenever I say that I am a proud member of Shakara, I said it in a way that I want to promote those values I grew up with. So I'm not preaching for an utopia, for a peaceful dream or project, but it's something that I've lived in my home country and something that I want to fight for to see it all over the world. My story started when I was a kid. I always had the fun with the Jews and Muslims all together. As a matter of fact, you don't know who is the Jew, who is the Muslim until the Jew disappeared on Friday. So it was always a beautiful synergy that I had in my childhood. I grew up to be an entrepreneur in the marketing field. I've never thought I will do this people-to-people diplomacy work, but things happen. I've been to Israel, and to my surprise, I was very, very astonished about how this community is also very inclusive. Like to go there and to see that you have the Arabic as the second language. The woman who did a COVID test to me was veiled. That was something very important to me to see, because I cannot deny it. A lot of Moroccans right now, they are very victim of the propaganda that came from the Middle East, trying to dehumanize Israelis, trying to make them the antagonists of this world. So it was very important to me to see the world there. And when I came back, I cannot also deny that I had a little bit of backlash. Why do you go there? You are maybe a betrayer. Don't you care about the Palestinians? And I had to fight back. I had to tell them that it's a part of the peace, it's a part of my inclusive mind to let the people know that we are all together, that we are all one. To my surprise as well, my co-founder quit, because he was like, I don't want my image to be stained with the Israeli image. And this really motivated me to really push more, because I'm like, if I don't do nothing, my whole world will collapse, because they don't understand what Israel is. And 3 months after that, I joined Shakara. I tell them I would love to work on this peace advocacy. People, they need to learn. Coming to Israel, going to other places in the world, people, they really need to hear from a Muslim what Israel is. That's my perspective. Because a lot of people, they would say, if an Israeli talked about it, that's normal. But if a Muslim from Morocco talked about it, that's something. Because it's a way of my true honesty to say the truth about what I've seen there. So yes, that's my story.
Sorry.
What's going on today?
I don't know what's wrong. Okay. For me, my story with Shakara started with a coincidence. Right after the Accords, Shakara was just established, and they wanted to host the first youth leaders delegation in Israel, like a culture exchange experience. And I was fortunate enough to be invited, because I wanted to see the reality. I wanted to meet real people, Jews, Muslim, Christians, and Druze and see the reality of the land. Because Israel is there, right there in the neighborhood of Middle East, but we don't know anything in the reality. So I went there and I saw the reality by my own eyes. My only agenda going Israel was curiosity. But after I saw the reality, I found myself having a special agenda to advocate for peace. I wanted to bring people together to build a bridges between my country and Israel. We've been brought in a country that we've always been in a peaceful, tolerant community. We always had Jews, Christians, Muslims in one community in Bahrain. And that's why I found it important for me to advocate for this amazing example we have because of the accords in the Middle East. And since then, we've been promoting this example, especially in the US. We want people here to know that people back home really get along. People, Muslims and Jews, wanting to know each other and live a peaceful life in our region.
And Fatima, remind me what your last name is.
Fatima Al-Harbi.
That's right. And your country where you live is Bahrain?
Yes, I live in Bahrain.
And I can't help but notice, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit off camera, but I know that Israel's represented Morocco, Bahrain, and we're talking about the conflict in Gaza. Was there an effort made to have a Palestinian in this delegation?
Yeah, unfortunately, so we always try to include Israeli minorities, Israeli Arabs, many of whom identify as Palestinian or from Palestinian origins. For people, for Palestinians who live in the Palestinian territories, it is either illegal or they could be severely hurt, injured, threatened, killed for doing what we're doing, for talking about peace with Israel. And something that there are voices for peace, but it is very, very difficult for them to join this kind of effort, to join this kind of speaking tour. Back in Israel, of course, we work across Israeli society with Arabs, as I said, many of whom identify as Palestinian or having Palestinian origins. We do have friends and contacts and colleagues either in the Palestinian territories or people of Palestinian origin who live outside. Many of them are afraid to speak, or there's visa issues and it's difficult to bring them to the United States.
So you're just talking about how it's difficult for them to be involved in a speaking tour such as this. Speaking of this tour that you're on, where have you been and what made you decide to come to the Pacific Northwest to visit Portland and Seattle? And any of you can speak on that.
We've been to Los Angeles, San Diego, and now we're in Portland and going to Seattle. But we've been to different parts of the United States. We've been to the East Coast, the Midwest, different states. We want people here in the U.S. to know about the Abraham Accords. We want to promote the example that it's happening because of the support of the United States administration back in the Middle East. So we come to show the example that Jews, Muslim, Christians, and we have a lot back home that comes in different delegations to speak about their experiences, about the Middle East and the Abraham Accords.
Okay, and I know that, previously you were in your countries. I'm curious what your experiences have been like personally before October 7th, now after, and even looking forward. Whoever wants to go first.
Sometimes I feel very unlucky because joining Shakara in this very complex and sad circumstances is very hard to me personally. Prior to October 7th, we were preaching for a big hope of peace. And all the people, they joined our events. As a matter of fact, we have organized one of the biggest Shakara events in Morocco. A lot of people came from different communities, Muslim community, Jewish community, even Christian community. They came to our events to share peace, to talk about it. Also to talk about the projects we promote, like to send, for instance, Moroccans to Auschwitz to understand the history of the Jews, or to go to Yad Vashem in Israel to understand also the history and the heritage of the Jews. That's my responsibility as a Moroccan not only to promote, but this is for me the way to create empathy, so people can be more curious and understand the Israeli culture. But after October 7th, things got really complicated, where you can see that a lot of people, they refuse to talk to you. They refuse to even give you the access to some communities that it was easy for me to go through. And this is part of my responsibility as well. Like, if things were always okay, I wouldn't be here at all. And so right now we transited from preaching for big hope of peace to a glimmer of hope. I understand the complexity of it, but in the same time, I truly believe that this is also a new way of working on peace, and I'm very happy that the public opinion in Morocco is very polarized. Before, it was mainly pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, and I understand them because they don't know exactly who are they championing. Right now, a lot of people, they are anti-Hamas for what they have done, for the massacre they have instigated, the war they have instigated. People, they clearly are step after step to understand the truth, and this is the thing that is very important to me as a peace builder in my own community.
And actually that reminds me of a question I did want to follow up with you, Dan. Earlier you had said that it disturbed you to see here in the States demonstrations in support of, you said, Hamas. Can you describe to me, because the demonstrations I've seen have been pro-Palestinian, but what demonstrations have you seen that have been pro-Hamas versus pro-Palestinian? What is the distinction there for people who are unclear, or maybe that line is fuzzy?
Sure. So Hamas, it's the acronym, it stands for the Islamic Resistance Movement, and it's a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. It is recognized by the United States, many Western and many Middle Eastern countries as a terrorist organization. And its stated goal, in its own charter, in its own words, and it says it time and again, including now after October 7th, is to destroy all of Israel. To kill the Jews and to destroy all of Israel and to take over. So they're not seeking peace. They're not seeking a two-state solution. And when they use the words liberation, when they use the words end the occupation, they're talking about annihilating all of Israel. They're talking about me and my family. They're talking about the 10 million people. And on October 7th, they committed one of the worst and barbaric terrorist attacks in history. They killed 1,200 civilians, Jews, Muslims, Christians, tourists. They didn't differentiate between who their targets were. They used rape as a weapon. They kidnapped 240 civilians, and 140 of them are still being held hostage. And they speak very clearly in Arabic to the whole world that they will commit on October 7th time and again. They filmed everything they did with GoPro cameras that were attached to them, and then the next day denied what they did and tried to convince the world that Israel just decided to start attacking Gaza on October 8th. And unfortunately, because the world today is very polarized and people tend to believe social media more than institutionalized, media in our own country, you have a lot of people who I would like to believe are promoting, or they think they're promoting peace, and they're calling for ceasefires. We're for peace, and we are not against the Palestinian people. I have many Arab friends. I have Palestinian friends. They're my neighbors. I want them to prosper and have a good life, and I would hope that they want the same of me. There is a committed terrorist organization that says and acts time and again to instigate conflict. It is connected to the wider radical axis in the region led by Iran, which has proxy terrorist groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen now, which the US and the UK are finally engaged in stopping Houthi attacks on international shipping, and it's firing rockets and cruise missiles at Israel as well. There's a major problem happening in the Middle East, and you see demonstrations for peace. I have yet to see a demonstration by these people calling on Hamas, again, a terrorist organization, to release the hostages, calling on Hamas for a ceasefire. Hamas, usually you chant for a ceasefire against the party that instigated the war. Israel didn't instigate this war. It's a war that we were completely shocked by. We didn't want, we still don't want it. And then you see a lot of people within these protests chanting slogans that they may or may not know are genocidal slogans. And people might not realize this here in the United States. When you shout from the river to the sea, that means the annihilation of Israel. When people shout to liberate Gaza, and I say this as one of the Israelis on this panel, Israel left Gaza in 2005. Israel hasn't occupied Gaza since 2005. And so what exactly are they protesting for? Let's protest against a terrorist organization. Let's protest to release the hostages. One of the hostages is a 1-year-old baby who just now in captivity for the last 105 days marked his first birthday. Who's taking care of this baby? They're being kept, those who were released already, we know, are being kept in cages and are being fed starvation rations. I don't even want to imagine what the women being held in Hamas captivity are undergoing. It's very difficult, and so and then you see on a lot of campuses people denying that the atrocities happened, people questioning whether Israeli women were raped by Hamas terrorists. What are they exactly protesting about?
So obviously a lot of outrage on many sides of this. I mean, I think one perspective that I've heard is Israel has to keep fighting Hamas, the terrorist organization, because, as you said, Hamas has made it clear it intends to annihilate Jews and destroy Israel in its charter and such. There are other perspectives. One, people have asserted that Israel is committing genocide, some people say, as they continue their offensive into Gaza. When you have so many strongly held beliefs by people who are affected, or even outside of that, maybe they have friends, family, maybe they see media and they're affected by that. How do you even find middle ground when you are so entrenched in your belief, whatever it is? How do you go about trying to promote this idea of peace and, conversation among people, curiosity, when people are so polarized?
I can answer about two sides. I feel after October 7 and during the war, the last 3 months, in Israel, behind our minority, Arabs and Christian, we feel that something changed after October 7th. The people understand that Israel is the most safe place for the minorities. And also the Christian feel that a lot. Behind every border, I have family in Lebanon, and also we have war between Lebanon and Israel, between Hezbollah and Israel. And we are very close to the border, and I have a family there, and they are not agree for the war and not agree with Hezbollah to have war with Israel. It's not the time, it's not good situation. Also in Lebanon, they really very understand what happened in October 7th, because this genocide happened in the Maronite in Lebanon in 1976 in a village called Damour. So really they understand what happened in October 7th, and they support Israel. And we feel how much they feel bad about all the situation. In Gaza also I have a family that they just wake up in the October 8th, and we have a war, and very difficult war. So we understand, but they still didn't understand. And the social media that they show in this area, it's not regular channels. It's Al Jazeera, it's Al Mayadeen. And when I show also these channels, I think that it's not the truth. A lot of things, just the bad things about what happened there, not what happened in Israel. They don't say anything about October 7th. They forget October 7th, and we Israeli citizens will never forget October 7th. About the other country, I feel that they more become open and wanna really listen for us, what we think about what happened, does it genocide, how we can explain, and I become more understand because I am joined the IDF, so I know that how the IDF work inside Gaza, how they ask to evacuate the place before they destroyed. I live in the north and I see how much the government take care about the citizens, and they evacuate more than 80,000 people in the borders in the south and in the north because they take care about the citizens. They lose all the money to keep the citizens, and it's not happen in Gaza. The terrorists are inside the tunnel. They have all the money that they get from all the Arab states and the states that support Hamas, use the money for tourists, and the citizens was killed there. So Hamas should take care about the citizens if they feel that they lead Gaza or the Palestinian. So what we say, we see that all the terrorists inside the tunnel under the land, and the citizen was killed, and the IDF speak Arabic. We have a lot of Arabic speaking there. They ask to leave, they ask to evacuate, and no one do that because they're afraid from Hamas. And it's not happen in Israel. Israel, first of all, the citizen. They will keep the citizen, and after that, they can take care about the other things.
Yusuf, maybe you want to talk about how do we promote dialogue at this time?
I mean, in this particular time, it is very hard for us to promote dialogue, but at the same time, it's the only way we believe that will bring at least peace in this very sad and complex situation. We need to understand something very important, and I always say that maybe our way to hell is paved with good intentions, and I feel that those people who demonstrate in the streets, like being pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, they don't know who are championing. Maybe they have good intentions. They don't want to see nobody get killed or die. We understand this very well, but their approach, the party they are championing doesn't really agree with what they want. And Naveen just talked about it. Like, how can you put people in danger, and at the same time you want to protect them and to lead them, which is very paradoxal. So in our way to bring dialogue, we acknowledge the fact that both of the parties, they want peace. When I say the parties like us, with those people who are very polarized. And we try to explain to them very clearly that the people you are championing, for instance, the people you are calling resistance, they really don't want peace. They are the one who instigated this war. They are the one who are putting the Palestinian civilian innocent people in danger. And for us, we always need to start from the essence of our work, which is empathy. We really need to trust the Israelis right now. Because most of the problems we are living right now in the region is the lack of trust. Because the content is there, the knowledge is all over the internet if you want to look up into, but there is no trust. And this is very important for us to highlight that there is a political will in the Israeli side to bring peace to the region. And wherever you demonstrate, we agree with you. Israel also wants ceasefire as well. But please bring back the hostages. Demilitarize Hamas, that is always instigating wars. That's how we will do the ceasefire as well. Nobody wants war. Sometimes it feels like Israel wants to keep the war and they are the only one who wants the ceasefire. No, everyone wants ceasefire in the region. I am dreaming of a peaceful place where there is no wars, working together. As a matter of fact, Jews and Arabs are both Middle Easterns, so we understand each other very well. That's all what we want.
And I heard you mention there demonstrations that are pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian. Dan, I know you mentioned that you had seen something similar to pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian. Is there a way to not conflate the two? Because I've heard references to both at the same time, but there's a difference, correct?
There is, and it's very important. We always clarify in our talks, and I say this as the Israeli Jew. I say we're not against the Palestinian people. I would love to see them as my neighbors, thriving and having a wonderful life. We're being held hostage, so to speak, by Hamas. They're being held hostage by Hamas. And so we try to always differentiate between Hamas and the Palestinian people. I say, as an organization, of course, we're all incredibly sympathetic to the loss of lives, of innocent lives in Gaza. It's tragic. I don't know a single Israeli who celebrates what's happening in Gaza right now. It's an unfortunate war from our perspective that we were dragged into. And I think a lot of times what you have in different kind of polarized situations is people get a view of the other side as very demonic, as being happy with their misery. So one of the messages that I try to spread is, yes, there's a war, and it's a war we don't want, and it's a war that will be happy to end when the hostages are returned, as Yusuf said, and Hamas is demilitarized. We are not happy, we are sad, we're heartbroken that innocent Palestinians are being harmed and affected by this in a very deep way. We're not ignoring it. What needs to be is first empathy. Yusuf said empathy, and that's one of the key words, is both sides have to have an empathy first for the suffering of the other side. And that's where it starts. Recognize that both sides are hurt by this, both sides are affected by this. This is not a one-sided conflict. The next step, in our opinion, has to be a clear recognition that one of the parties in this war, Hamas, is not seeking peace, does not want a peaceful solution to the war. I'll mention also about the protests that we see. There are people among the protests who chant Nazi-type slogans, who compare Israel to the Nazis. That's an incredibly hurtful thing, and it's either completely revising history as to what the Nazis did to the Jews. They systematically murdered 6 million Jews, and murdered many hundreds of thousands of other different kinds of minorities and political opponents, or it completely misunderstands what Israel is and what it's doing. And both are incredibly harmful. They're both vilifying. But we also speak in Israel, I speak with many Israelis to let them know that there are many Arabs and Muslims around the world, and in Israel first and foremost, who want peace and who want coexistence. And so this work of humanizing and building empathy has to go both ways, and we're constantly working to try to build that dialogue. We're not politicians, we're not government spokespeople, we're concerned citizens who have a little bit more clarity about the players in the Middle East than the average person here in the United States.
So you mentioned empathy, relating to each other. Do you think that's the missing piece in the conversations that are being had right now about what's happening in Gaza?
I think the most important thing that will help a lot in the dialogue and conversation is knowing the other, because whenever they distance themselves from the other, they dehumanize the other, and they start the conflict. But when they know the other, they start the conversation. This is step one of a solution.
Okay, and you may know this about Portland, but there are many activists in Portland, in the Pacific Northwest probably too. So there have been plenty of pro-Palestinian marches. There have been plenty of people who have also spoken out as pro-Israeli. But there are also people out there who go day to day, live their lives, don't even concern themselves with what's going on outside of their own world. For those people who go day to day, who decide not to engage because they don't think what's happening in the Middle East affects them, what would you say to those people who have decidedly said, you know what, I don't care because I don't think it affects me?
I think right now we don't have to focus on who is right and who is wrong, but rather than that, we focus on what's right, because there is a war and nobody wants it. So I believe that let's not discredit the people who want to do peace. Let's hear everyone's version of the story, and especially let's always converge to the one that wants peace instead of the one who instigated war. For me, and I will say it bluntly, I see a lot of peace in Israel right now. And I really care also about the Palestinians innocent as well. So in this intersection, I feel that we really need to have more empathy to the efforts that are being done by the Israelis. Don't forget something. We have more than 20% of the Israeli population that they are Arabs. That also they choose peace back in the days, and they are really want to see a beautiful region that there is no threats in it. So this is my message to everyone. Please have more empathy, have more curiosity, learn more about the situation. We know that you want peace. You know that you march for peace. I know very well that you don't want war. But please, at least go and talk to your fellow Israelis, talk to the Arab Israelis, talk also to those minorities we don't hear on the medias that they want peace. That's for me let's not focus on who is right and who is wrong, because this polarized talk will not lead us anywhere.
I'll say, people in Israel, and I think many, the vast majority of Jewish communities around the world feel hurt. They feel that their pain is not recognized. They feel that people vilify them as if Israel somehow wanted this war. And we in the Middle East remember not very long ago, millions of our neighbors in Syria were killed by the Assad regime in Syria, by Hezbollah, and by the Iranian regime. And we didn't see any protests in the street. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed in Yemen, in the conflict there. Tens of thousands of people in Sudan are being killed right now. I don't see anyone protesting in the street. Tens of thousands in Libya are being killed. I don't see anyone protesting in the street. And we feel there's a massive double standard, that when we defend ourselves in Israel, we're attacked for being an aggressor, accused of things like genocide. That carries weight. When you accuse a country of genocide, you have to be very careful, because that carries a huge weight, and it inflames public opinion. And it doesn't seem genuine when actual genocides are committed all around us in Israel, and nobody takes to the street. When hundreds of thousands of people are being killed between Russia and Ukraine right now, nobody takes to the streets. And you can like or dislike Israel. You can like or dislike its policies, by the way. Many in Israel dislike many Israeli government policies, and for the last year have been protesting in the streets about a different issue. We have a very vibrant democracy and a very free press. And on this issue, we're united because we see it as a matter of self-defense, and it's really existential in that sense. I would urge people in the United States to have a little more humility, if I may. If you really don't know the ins and outs of a foreign conflict, maybe reserve your opinion and educate yourself on the issue. And if you're going to be an activist, have a constructive proposal. The United States is the most important country in the world. It is the world leader. It's the world leader that certainly in the Middle East all of our countries look to. And so what happens here is important. But if you're going to march, if you're going to protest, have a learned opinion on an issue and have a reasonable, practical goal. And so when we see marches in the street, and not everybody, but people are shouting, globalize the Intifada, that's a call for rising up against the West, against Israel, against different countries. When you see river to the sea, for us that means genocide against Israel. And then when you see actual swastikas and things, I've seen these signs, Jews in the trash bin, that you see the Star of David in a trash bin. And that's calling for a genocide against Jews. We're very hurt by it. And I would just urge people to take a lot more time to learn and listen to both sides of an issue, and maybe steer clear of social media propaganda. It goes both ways, by the way, social media propaganda.
And I just have a couple more questions. One, I was interested because I know that your organization is all about promoting the idea and vision of the Abraham Accords. And of course, Morocco, Bahrain signed on to treaties with Israel to normalize relations for peace in the Middle East and all of that. So obviously you're in favor of the Abraham Accords, but some Palestinians maybe might not be in favor, feeling that it's very pro-Israel and also is a detriment to them gaining statehood. What would you say to those people who have reservations about the Abraham Accords and maybe turned off when they hear you say, you know, we're trying to promote this?
First of all, that's not true, because we just 5 days ago, the king has he gave his order to give more scholarships to the Palestinians that they study in Morocco. We have a beautiful diaspora also in Morocco, from Palestinian people coming to live in Morocco, having their lives, doctors, engineers. We've never turned our back to Palestinians. Being pro-Israeli doesn't mean anti-Palestine anyway. We are very aware of the position we have as Moroccans. Even if I'm not a representative of my government, we are very well aware that we want to thrive. We understand that we have more than 1 million Israelis that have Moroccan roots. So for us, it's like a sister country. And we understand that after the Abraham Accords, there is a lot of opportunities to work together. But in the same time, this is not anti-Palestine neither, in a sense that we care about them as well. And we want them also to thrive. And we welcome them always in our country. This doesn't cancel the other one. And for us, we are very aware that this is what we want to give to the world as a message, that we want to bring peace. We want also to work with Israel, and we are not anti-Palestine anyway. We are pro both.
Okay. And my last question, and I'll kind of start. Oh, go ahead.
Do you want
No, it's okay.
to? Oh.
I will actually start with Fatima, actually, as my last question. On this speaking tour, you know, peace in times of war, if there is one thing, and I have a feeling I might know some of the words you might say, but one thing that you want people to take away from this speaking tour, and I guess, Fatima, we can start with you and go down the line and end with Dan.
I think for me is I want people to take the idea that we can all sit together, Muslims, Jews, Christians, Druze, Bedouins, we can all sit together and have a conversation. We might not agree on so many things, but the most important thing that we can sit together, and we're doing this in the Middle East. So I want them to have this idea, especially people going to protests, not wanting to hear the other narrative. People have to be open-minded in hearing both sides and let themselves decide.
For me, I would say we all want peace. Wherever you come from, of course you want peace. You want sustainability, you want prosperity to your countries. So if you really want it, let's just talk about it instead of insulting each other. Let's sit and talk.
Behind every border, I have family there, and it was a dream to have peace with all the countries in the Middle East. The first step, it's happened with Abraham Accord. It allowed me to meet our family that live in Lebanon and Dubai, and I was very excited. And usually when we met there, we pray and we ask for peace for all the Middle East. It should be model for all the Middle East, how it should like have a peace together. And I hope that soon we will have. I believe that if we ask for peace, we will have peace.
We need to make a greater effort to listen to what people actually say and not assume what they think. We need to make a greater effort to be more gracious to people who we think we disagree with. And we need to be willing to sit in a zone of discomfort and listen to opinions and facts that you might not like, and then have a common goal. If our common goal is to solve a problem, how do we put down sensible, uniting plans or ideas that bring people together rather than divide people apart? The Abraham Accords was the beginning of a new way to take on challenges and divisions in the Middle East. And we hope that they'll continue. We hope that all the countries in the region will want to partake in this framework and enjoy the prosperity and stability that come from it. And we're here to be advocates of this new and inclusive vision for the Middle East.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else? I want to open up the floor. Anything else that we have not talked about that you wanted to mention that we haven't spoken about?
Fatima? What we talked about earlier.
Oh.
Falling asleep here.
About the 7th of
Yeah.
October?
Just how people are denying it. I mean,
Yeah.
so-
For me, it breaks my heart as a Muslim and Arab that people are denying what happened on the 7th of October, because we got to watch unreleased raw footage of what happened that day from the security cameras and from the attackers' GoPros. We saw it in picture and in voice. We could hear everything they say in Arabic, in fluent Arabic. And people say there is no proof. But I saw the proof. Unfortunately, the Foreign Ministry don't want to release it, respecting the victims and their families. But the proof is there. And there is so much more on social media that people deciding to say there is no proof. This breaks my heart. People using the Islam, using our identity as Arabs, and doing horrific things to other people, no matter what's their religion. And of course, it breaks my heart what's happening to Palestinians, innocent Palestinians, of course. But I saw this, and I can't unsee it, because it's really horrific scenes that you don't want anyone to go through.
Is there anybody else that wants to add anything?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
sit down with us.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.